Everything's glowing green right now. What on earth is going on with crypto? It really looks like we might be launching straight to the moon this time. There's a ton of bullish momentum building up at the moment, and honestly, it's starting to feel like we're reaching that critical point where things could speed up fast. Are we finally about to break past those old all-time highs and not just hit them briefly and crash again, but actually hold them? Maybe even push far beyond. This right here is a major bullish signal. Tether just minted a fresh $1 billion USDT earlier today at their treasury. That's a massive move and could be the fuel that kicks off the next big rally. Typically, it takes about 3 days for that fresh capital to really start flowing into the crypto markets. More often than not, a big chunk of it initially goes straight into Bitcoin. And when Bitcoin starts climbing, you'll usually see the altcoins try to follow along, unless, of course, Bitcoin dominance is on the rise. That's a key detail we're going to break down in today's video, because there's a lot unfolding right now that you need to pay attention to. So yeah, this is without a doubt a very strong bullish indicator. And guess what? A new week is here, and it's shaping up to be a crucial one. This could be the week that tells us whether the market's ready to lean bullish, or if we're heading into bearish territory instead. Why? Because there's a flood of important data coming our way. But the main thing to focus on, point number 2, the May CPI inflation numbers dropped this Wednesday. That's the big one, arguably the only thing that really matters right now. Sure, PPI might play a small role, but CPI is front and center. We're going to be watching that, like a hawk. And let's be real, the numbers need to come in lower than expected. Inflation needs to keep trending downward toward the Fed's 2% target. Why is that important? Because the Federal Reserve's next interest rate decision is coming up on June 18th, and they're going to be basing their call heavily on what that CPI report shows us. Right now, the market's general expectation is that the Fed won't touch rates in June. But let's imagine a scenario where inflation comes in surprisingly low, closer to the Fed's target. Could that open the door to a rate cut? Well, technically, yes. Here's why. According to the FOMC policymakers' projections, there's about a 98% chance they'll keep rates exactly where they are on June 18th. So yeah, it looks like that's already baked into the market, but there's still that tiny 2% chance. And that's where things get interesting. Because if something unexpected happens and they do cut rates this month, man, that would send the markets into overdrive. I'm talking next level bullish action. Everyone's assuming a pause, but that slim chance, just 2%, could be the kind of rare, wild card event that shocks the system. And it all hinges on that CPI report dropping Wednesday. That's why this moment is so important. For the markets to stay bullish, CPI needs to come in low, not high. Inflation dropping is what we need to see. But someone made an interesting point recently. Maybe here in the comments, I'm not sure. But it stuck with me. They said it doesn't even matter what the CPI report says, because Powell likely won't move on rates regardless. The theory is that the Fed's real agenda is to crash the economy just enough so they can rebuild it again. Rinse and repeat. Crash. Print more money. Devalue the dollar. Sounds wild, right? But if inflation still hasn't reached their 2% target, maybe they're holding out for a bigger event. A bigger excuse to hit the reset button again. Still, I truly believe this week is the tipping point. It's going to give us a clear signal, bullish or bearish. And what's really intriguing is how crypto is already pumping before any of this data drops. Almost like it's being front-run. Could insiders be positioning themselves ahead of the CPI release? Maybe. Also, don't forget, Justin is reportedly in China this week, and there are trade talks happening in London too. No major headlines yet, but if any kind of deal is reached, especially around rare earths, it could set off a major bullish reaction. Now zooming out to next week, XRP could see explosive movement. We've got multiple bullish catalysts lining up. Potential ETF news, case developments, and the big FOMC decision. All hitting in the same window. Things are heating up fast, and it really feels like we're on the edge of something massive. Where does it all begin? Right over there. That's the starting point, the spark. It's like the domino that kicks off everything. So yes, today might actually be the moment it all begins. Things are moving like a snowball, starting small, but quickly picking up speed, gaining momentum, and growing larger by the minute. But again, the key is simple. This needs to be bullish. If the news plays out in our favor, we're off to the races. Nothing will be able to stop the momentum. And honestly, there's just so much happening. It's hard to even keep up. Let me break down what we know so far about what's going on in London today. The details are limited. We don't know the exact schedule or location, but senior US and Chinese officials are meeting for high-level trade talks. That alone is huge. Now, here's what's interesting. Leading the US team is Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and trade reps Jameson Greer, who were also present during the Geneva discussions. But this time, they're joined by Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, and that's a major development. Why? Because he was in charge of overseeing export controls during the Trump era. That tells us the focus this time is likely on rare earth, minerals and advanced chip technology, essential ingredients for everything from electric cars to military gear. So again, this is significant. One of the main reasons we haven't seen markets push into new all-time highs yet is this ongoing tariff narrative, especially tied to China. And if these talks lead to some kind of ceasefire or trade agreement, boom, that could kickstart a bullish move even before the CPI data comes out. And if that's also bullish, then we've got a full-blown snowball effect rolling into the coming months. Inflation cooling off would give the Fed room to shift its stance, possibly turning dovish. And even cutting rates. Can you see what's unfolding here? I'm not gonna lie, this is actually exciting. Both sides have been super quiet about when and where the meetings are happening, but we know it's in London. The US wants access to rare earth materials, which are basically the backbone of modern tech. And China's pushing back against US restrictions on advanced chips. Tensions are high, but if this ends with progress, even a small breakthrough, that's fuel for the fire. There's also word that Trump made headway on rare minerals in past talks, so we might see headlines drop later tonight. If they're bullish, oh man, we could be looking at a market explosion. And as if that wasn't enough, CryptoFace himself is long on everything this week. That should tell you something. I'm picking up some serious Trump-China trade deal vibes right now. That kind of bullish energy. You heard it here first. See you at the top this week. Now, for those of you who don't know who CryptoFace is, he's an absolute beast. When it comes to trading, the guy's made serious profits in the market, and when he speaks, a lot of people listen. What's wild is that he's now coming out super bullish. I'm not even sure if this is something he does regularly, but clearly, he's seeing something. He's been looking at the Bitcoin charts, and it seems like he's trying to front-run the action. Why? Because he senses something big, possibly a breakthrough between Trump and China, that could lead to a huge move in the markets. If that deal even hints at progress, the price action could get explosive real fast. And with CryptoFace saying, "See you at the top this week," you've got to wonder, is this the start of something massive? Could we actually shoot up and create a new top this week? That mountaintop moment. It might be closer than we think. PA. There's just so much unfolding right now, and Bitcoin is front-running every single catalyst out there. BTC just tagged $108,000, folks. That's right, 108K. Now I was planning to dive into Bitcoin dominance in this video, but I'll save that for later tonight, because things are unfolding exactly as expected. Let's talk about the price action. Here's the thing, Bitcoin needs to keep climbing. If it starts to stall out on the weekly chart, not good. That opens the door for a possible triple bearish divergence, and we really don't want to see that. So, right now, BTC is at a fork in the road. Either we go vertical from here, or it all fizzles out. It's pump or dump, no middle ground. But if you line up all the catalysts hitting this week and next, man, it's looking seriously bullish. Just take a look at this chart. It's wild. BTC consolidated, pushed up, tested resistance, pulled back to support, then rallied again. We broke below support at one point, but guess what? We held strong on both the daily and 12-hour closes. Told you that was going to be a solid level. Now, where are we? We're knocking on the door of a major resistance zone. 109,000. To be exact. And listen, we have to break above this level. Why? Because this zone has been a fortress. It's acted as resistance multiple times, and even flipped into support briefly before failing.